If you feel like you're failing, it's probably because your goals are too easy or they're just not big enough. And I always, what? If you feel like you're failing, it's probably because your goals are too easy. And what I've learned is that if I'm not obsessing and fully embodying this next version of myself, then I'm just going to casually approach my goals and my days with no like momentum or forward motion. And it's so interesting because I've had multiple seasons in my life where I had these chasms in like my desire and passion, and I couldn't figure out what was wrong. So, story time. I was in Jamaica the first time my blog hit six figures. And travel blogging, this is something that it was 2016. So I think Instagram was 5 years old at that point. And mind you, most of the brands that I work with did not have an Instagram at all. So there was so much that was still developing in the influencer marketing space. It definitely wasn't called influencer marketing, but travel blogging and travel collaborations. And most of the ways that travel bloggers got paid was through sponsored posts on their blog. So my income was heavily reliant on the volume of traffic that I would send to my blog. And yeah, so I was writing a lot and yeah, I had a lot of my articles going viral, which was amazing. I was ghostwriting for other publications and it was, yeah, it was a hustle. But I think there was a point where I was like, all I need is to be secure. And so I was like, if I had to dream the biggest goal possible, six figures to me was like insane, like, not only insane, but impossible. This was someone who was getting paid $150 per article. So the concept of a six-figure income from blogging was just, I was just happy to travel. I was just happy to not be home, to not have to go back home and like study to be a doctor or enroll back in pre-med classes. So I, my perception and my baseline for like success was really low. But I also recognize that like, you know what? I'm, I know that I'm going to be successful at whatever I attempt. It might take a while, but I'm just so persistent. I'm so disciplined and I'm so enthusiastic about things that I'm passionate about. So it wasn't success. I wasn't looking at it as a matter of like if. I knew when. I knew it would happen. I just didn't know when. So six figures hit. And I remember I was in Jamaica and I was there for a month, just got an Airbnb on the beach, just for myself. I often, again, I solo traveled in between my gigs. So I'm doing sponsored blog posts, I'm doing hotel reviews, I'm doing online ghostwriting, I'm doing some social media management, some travel blogging, liaisoning, some marketing consulting, some photography jobs, licensing drone footage, very random, very random. So just kind of money's coming from all over the place. And so when I'm not doing an in-person travel campaign, then I just go somewhere to just reset my nervous system and yeah, unpack my suitcase. It was very common for me to like not even, now that I think about it, it's such a luxury. I could be in a hotel for 2 days. I will unpack and hang everything in my suitcase. I pack a lot more minimally now, but I lived so many days, so many years digging through my suitcase and then just like sitting on top of it to zip it up when it was time to go. So it feels, it's, your 30s are so luxurious. I can't even wait for my 40s. Listen, I'm looking forward to the 40s. So quite, yeah. So hitting six figures and then this immediate feeling of not depression, but sadness and underwhelm. I was like, what? Why don't I feel like how I thought I would feel? This felt so impossible a year ago. Now that I'm here, like, what happened? Why am I not, and it is, there's something to be said about how we have constantly Our goals are like moving targets, so it's important to celebrate every, step. And I definitely moved the goalpost as soon as I hit it, but I also don't think that I felt accomplished because I still was doing, I don't know, I felt like I was still doing work that was easy. And that's when it hit me. It doesn't matter if I accomplish my goals if they are easy. It does nothing for me to get a participation trophy for something that was gonna happen. It was inevitable that my blog would hit six figures, of course. Like, I'm one of the pioneers in the travel blogging industry. I had been to, I don't know how many countries at that point, solo traveling, one of the only Black solo travelers, like just by way of numbers, Murphy's Law of numbers. Like I'm gonna make it. Not many of us out here doing it like I am, especially. So the fact that it happened was because I mean the goalpost wasn't high or far enough. I got there and I was like, oh, should I rest? Okay, I have a month in Jamaica. I'm on the beach. I'm resting. Very cozy place, but I had nothing to look forward to. I would wake up and just like aimlessly stare at the ceiling. I'm like, okay, guess I should get breakfast. Okay, I can walk down to this hut. I can go down to this restaurant. There's this place on the beach. I can order in, order takeout. I can text my Airbnb host if they have any recommendations. I can walk somewhere. I can get a taxi. Like there was this, all these decisions just for a simple thing, and but no joy in the action. If you saw the place that I stayed, where you're overlooking the water, you're in this gorgeous country of Jamaica, you're able to just, if you want to, you could blog, you could take photos, you could relax, watch TV. And I couldn't even enjoy myself in that season because it's like I lost a sense of drive. There was nothing to work for now that I hit what I thought I wouldn't hit for a while. So when I tell you that if you feel like a failure, it's probably because your goals are literally just 2 months of consistency away. And that's not big of a stretch. If you're someone who's saying, all right, Glow, my current goals are to, publish my digital product and or sell my course, or be consistent for 30 days straight, do it. Do it. Because you can. That's not a goal. That's like a consequence of specific actions that is inevitable if you just show up. So don't set goals based on your ability to show up, because if you show up, the goal will happen. Set goals based on what is so obnoxiously distant that it will require you to shift and shake and turn everything upside down. You cannot be the same person in order to walk through the door of this new identity you want to embody. That's how big the goal should be. So for it wasn't just hitting seven figures, it was now hosting my first boot camp, hosting my first international event, doing these six-figure brand deals. Now, like having my first six-figure month, then having my first six-figure week, then my first six-figure day. Like these were like obnoxious. And yeah, let's get into the meat of so there's beauty in the stretch, number one. And I think if you know that you are all in when it comes to entrepreneurship, because I would say I don't know what the success rate is. I don't even want to guess, but let's say the success rate is low in terms of making it to 2 years and being profitable. And mind you, you could still be an operating business and have negative cash flow. Like, but you're still showing up, you're still operating. I think that's still a success. So against all odds, I think you'll know that you're stretched when you are more afraid of the regret of not going for it than the fear of the failure of it. So, lesson one, comfort is truly the silent killer of growth. My goodness, when I thought, listen, right before 2020, so, y'all heard the story of what happened in 2019, just the surgery and how, oh my goodness, I don't even think I said it on camera, but I had a whole year. So God sat me down, put me on a no-fly list so that he could allow me for an entire year to prepare to shift my business model. So at that point, I was doing 80% travel jobs, which required my presence, me getting on a plane, me hosting, me being on camera, me posting certain things in that destination. And ever since that event, it forced me to like shift and look at online as a way to have a majority of my income. And so 80% of my income was online. So by the time it hit March 2020, when the world shut, like my business stayed open. And I remember the forums and the conversations of travel bloggers panicking of like their entire income was like gone overnight. And I was like, goodness, I had a year runway to get to this point where not only is my income surviving, I am making 3 times, 4 times what I was making from being on planes and being on the road. And it just shifted everything for me. So it's crazy because I was like, ah, yeah, glitch, ADHD glitch. So naturally, this is my first place because I was nomadic for 7 years full time. And I was like, okay, I mean, choosing the city was already very chaotic, but once I finally realized, okay, this is what I want, this is what I deserve, space was a big thing for me. So I wanted a 2 bedroom, 2 bath because, well, at first I thought I was going to have a guest room to host friends, and you just never know. And because it was the pandemic, it was like permission to turn it into something bigger for my business. So I called it the Creative Suite and I made it my podcast studio. And it's where I went to like, I had like my Nigerian comedy skits, which they're still on my page. You look at them from like 2019 and 2020. But yeah, I use that room for that. And so as I'm getting this place, my first place, I'm like, well, I should do this. And I'm glamming it up. It's gorgeous. It's like a junior penthouse. So it's like really tall ceilings and lots of space for one person who just never had it like that. And never, I don't know, even in like the Airbnbs and hotel rooms, like it's just different when it's your own space that you get to decorate however you want. And yeah, so it's next thing you know, I'm just like, everyone's at home scrolling, and you think you need all the gadgets, all the things. So every day there's a new purchase of like a bean bag and another plant and, just things to make the place look even nicer. And it got to the point where Stefan and I counted 7 different places around the apartment where you could just take a nap. It was so cozy and so comfortable. There's even like a $3,000 massage chair, y'all. That was no, no, I'm not even gonna. I love that purchase because if you put it, the amount of times I got a massage divided by the price, I think it'll come out to like $10 per massage. I listen, was cooped up in that chair. And the whole place became like a haven for rest. And I think I needed that at the time. The thing is, I outgrew that apartment by the third year. I needed to leave by the third year. And at that point, Stefan and I were still long distance. So he was flying to the US to meet up with me. And we would stay for well, yeah, like stay for like 3 months. And then I would fly to Bosnia to be with him. And I would stay for like 2, 3 months. And then we would meet up in another country for the next. But it was like this constant back and forth. And so I was gone for in the last 2 years of that apartment. I mean, I was gone for at least 6 months. So you think about, just throwing rent down the drain. But actually, I'm not going to say that. Thank God for abundance. So yeah, I realized that every time I got to that space, as comfortable as it was, I outgrew the comfort and could no longer like dream and do things bigger or go for the next thing. And so if we're always seeking comfort, comfort actually it almost stops. It puts a cap on your ability to work for what you think you don't have. And there's something about the tension that happens in the middle space of that drive for more. And I never want to lose that. My ambition is one of my favorite things about myself. My brain, I love my brain. Listen, I once I realized what sugar does to your brain, it was so easy to cut out because I want to protect the genius, the creative genius that comes from my brain. I love my brain so much. So even the motivation to eat healthier and to cut carbs and sugar just to keep my brain fresh and healthy. Um, yeah, so I was just recognizing that I know that it's okay to like aim for something and miss it, even though that feels demoralizing in the moment. That's actually a sign that you're adequately uh, forecasting. You're doing a good job of projecting something that will make you stretch. And growth always lives in the gap between like your current ability and desired result of the person that you want to become. So, like, let's say you want to write a New York Times bestselling book, and your current ability is that you've never written a book. And New York Times bestseller, that feels so far away because there's so much in the gap. But in that gap is your character development, is your growth, is your intensity, is your discipline, is better habits, is more focus, is healthier exercises. I don't know, but there's so much that happens in the gap that you don't want to have goals that have no gap. Because it's like, oh, I have a goal to show up on Instagram tomorrow. I'm gonna show up on Instagram. That's my big goal. And then all that's required. Like let's say Instagram Live, all that's required is for you to like click on live and it's done. That's not really a goal. That's just an action item. That's just a task. And you can easily check that off, but not much is in the gap there. Wait, number two is chase the wisdom of your heroes' heroes. So study your mentors' mentors. So if you want to know my mentors' mentors, you would have to look into, I see Napoleon Hill. You'd have to look into, um, should I look this up really quickly? Because last show you'd have to look into, so I should have updated that. Um, that's funny. Um, okay. So if you got the creative reset, the names are in there. That's what I'll say. Two of them, there might be some, it's not scandals, but things are happening in the news. Anyways, if you've been famous for over 40 years, someone's gonna try to come for you. So um I'll just say that. If you want to know who my mentors are, go check in mycreativereset.com. But and let me see what page is that. Hmm. It is page hard 19. So that's week 2, day 12. Yeah, so study Dale Carnegie. There's why am I forgetting? There's like Bob Proctor. Um, there's so many good ones. Napoleon Hill, obviously, he's genius. Um, and yeah, I think just go for the people who they learn from. And should I? There's one more that I want to. I'll let it go. Okay, it's. I'll just go ahead and say it's midnight. It's midnight. These videos are becoming very, very last minute, but I'm glad I have more energy than yesterday. Feel like I look very rested. Or, I'm sorry, I feel very rested. But it was a really good day. Okay. Um, and then study the struggles and turning points of your mentors and your mentors' mentors, because every great person has a story of struggle. That's what shapes their greatness. So find that story of struggle and see where it is, like what was the inflection point, and watch documentaries. I love autobiographies. Celine Dion's is probably one of, my goodness, I don't know. Yeah, it's so emotional to watch her. She's just an incredible woman. Shania Twain is another one I watched recently. Also cried during hers. Amy Winehouse, well, I was a mess, of course, cried through hers. Um, Yeah, I love watching artists and athletes. I think there's always a turning point in their stories. Okay, and third lesson is to feed your ambition with higher levels of input. So give yourself 2 hours to like binge podcast interviews. I love like I love interview style content. For me, that lately has been my favorite. And Alex Ramosi, sometimes I take a break from his content. I mean, he's a brilliant person. I think he's so neurotic about what he believes. You gotta love someone who just doesn't care about how they come across because they're so obsessive about the education. But sometimes I take a pause because he's quite intense. But lately he's in book launch mode, so he's been coming strong and stuff is really good. And anytime you see him in interview format with like Chris Williamson and Naval, it's just no, sorry, Naval was with Chris Williamson, but he's a great interviewer, and you always come away with like just a total shift or a deeper download on something that you've already been pondering. So do a deep dive, like start your morning with like a 2 hour podcast in the background and let it kind of narrate your day and narrate your thought patterns. Because it's a really it's a really beautiful way to immerse yourself in education that doesn't feel as intense or tangible. A lot of times you learn so much more from conversation than from curriculum. So allow the conversations of brilliant people to like really shape and shift your mindset. Okay. Um, yeah, just to recap, bigger dreams demand a bigger version of you. And playing small, I mean, it won't inspire you, it definitely won't inspire your audience. So go for something big and let people like rally behind you, rally with you. It's an exciting thing when you're with someone who has this audacious way of living. It makes you want to be around them and just soak up their energy, their all of it. Like it's infectious because it's also not normal. And I like people who are a little crazy. It takes a little bit of crazy to go for something that you haven't seen or that doesn't currently exist. And a lot of times what I try to do in the business coaching space, I think I'm more of a creative strategist. I think people come to me for creative strategy and then they end up making money. I think the creativity is like more of what I should lead with moving forward because I've always like just made money online. I've always been someone who's deep in business, nerdiness and entrepreneurship. But I think creative strategy is one of the bigger things that's lacking because you can't you can't force a strategy to work for everyone. So it's almost like you have to figure out something that's kind of custom and unique for you. Okay, I think that's all I got. Let me know in the comments if you have watched every single video so far. What? I'm honored. We've got 21 days left. God help us. But I can't believe, yeah, 10 days down. That's a great feeling. I think by day 5, it started to feel normal. By day 2, I was like, what the am I doing? It's like, I'm gonna regret this. And even in me showing up, like this feels like a stretch goal. Not only have I rarely used YouTube in the past, but I don't have a script. I'm not reading off of a teleprompter. I'm just kind of showing up with a couple notes and hoping for the best. So y'all are seeing me in real time, process, mess up, look for stuff. And yeah, I think that's also what I want to be a part of my brand. I've never been someone who has been super polished. I do like to show my quirks and just kind of show up as me. This is who I've always been. And so it's cool to just not care. I don't know. Okay, that was fun, y'all. I will see you tomorrow and be sure to go to mycreativereset.com and a limited time, if you happen to be in Portugal and you happen to watch this before August 23rd, 2025, then I will see you there. There's also more information at glowgraphics.bio, doing a 1-day workshop for people to help with their digital media strategy, content creation, I will be there, like live directing you, getting you headshots, everything. So it'll be a good time. Limited seats, and that's all I got. All right. Bye.